Hi, does your screen door look like this? This is what you might call an unconditional surrender. I'm going to show you today how to put this thing back together. So the first thing we're going to have to do is get this old screen out of the frame. And let's just get that taken care of right now. Getting the old screen out of the frame is really just a matter of pulling out this spline here and pulling out the old screen cloth. So we'll do that all the way around the frame and we'll get this thing nice and cleaned up. Now we've gone through and gotten the whole screen pulled right out, and I've pulled the old spline out and all the old screen cloth. Now sometimes you can reuse this spline, but this one came out very easily. It's not in very tight, so I'm going to totally replace this one. And also we're going to have to take off the locks here. That thing's going to get in the way when we start to rescreen it, so I'll go ahead and take that thing off. Now this one here is a surface mount lock. That means it mounts right on the face of the door. Some screen doors are different. They'll have a lock which fits inside the frame, and that's called a mortise type lock. So we'll just go ahead and remove this surface mount lock here. Now we've gotten that lock off and put the screws away in a safe place. Now we're coming to, we have to get some of these rollers out, because you can see all of the corners are broken on this screen door, so we've got to replace them. In this door we're going to have to get those corners out, but first we've got to get these rollers out. These are very commonly used rollers. I call them MRSA. Other people, companies such as Anderson, Peachtree, use these kind of rollers. And so we'll just show you how to get these out here. Basically all I'm doing is just getting a flat blade screwdriver, and I'm just pushing it down into the space behind the roller. Kind of hard to see here, but there are two little tabs on that roller that you have to twist apart with the blade of the screwdriver, and once you do that you can pop the roller right out, and just comes out just like that. The next thing you're faced with is the corner itself, and you can see how it's broken in here. These are fit in there friction fit, and I find that an awl is the best way to get these things out, because you can stick it in the part that's sticking of the corner that's sticking out, and kind of lever the old corner right out of the frame. Sometimes you have to dig around to find a point where you can lever on, but usually you can find some area that you can lever on to get this thing out. So we'll just go ahead and pull this thing out. Now that we've got the old corner out and the old roller, you can take a look at how they're not in that great a condition. But at least this one did have some steel ball bearing rollers in it. They're still working, but quite rusty, and of course a broken corner, so we've got to replace them. So one thing you have to bear in mind when you're replacing this is how big this corner is. This dimension across here, this should be 1 1/8 inches. That's a very common size for screen doors. And this thickness here should be about 0.406 inches, a little bit less than 7/16 of an inch. That's a very, very common size for a corner. So I'm not going to replace this with the exact same thing. I'm going to replace it with one of these, which is actually a bit thicker and has a much better connection for a roller here. So this is the roller that goes with it. Much stronger spring, a much more beefier housing. Certainly will last a lot longer than the old one that it's replacing. So what I do is I actually sell these corners and rollers for 1 1/8 doors. It comes with 4 corners and 4 rollers, so that you can do this whole replacement. Now to get these rollers in, the corners rather, we just have to use a rubber mallet and just tap them straight into the end of the screen door rail. One thing you have to watch out for when you're doing this, if you see how this groove where the roller sits, sometimes the tab on the corner won't always line up exactly. It won't stick out enough to get the roller to hook on. So in cases like that, you might have to cut this opening back by about 1/4 of an inch. And I find the easiest way to do that is to take a pair of pliers and actually lever out the small piece of aluminum to make the opening a little wider. Very quick and easy way to do it if you ever have a problem with the corner not quite fitting properly. So here we go, we've got the corner installed, and if we look inside, I don't know if you can see okay, but you can see there's that little tab there where the roller hooks on, and it's in exactly the right position. So now we can just push the roller in. So the first thing I do to get the roller in is I just hook that spring into the groove which is made for the roller, and I'm going to twist the whole thing around and push it down onto that little tab there. And with a bit of luck, it'll work. There we go. So now the roller is installed onto the corner. Now I'm just going to go ahead and replace the remaining 3 corners using the same techniques we were just looking at. Okay, so now we've got the 4 corners installed in the short rails, and we're going to start working on the long rails because they still have the corners, the broken pieces of corner sticking in there. And there's 2 ways to go about getting these out. The first way is to lever them out with an awl, just like I was using with the bottom pieces. But sometimes you can't really reach them and they're too far in. So another thing you can do if they're too far in is actually just take a screwdriver and a mallet and drive this thing deeper into the rail so that you have room to put the new corner. So that's 2 ways you can handle a broken corner in the end of one of the long rails. Okay, so now we've got all the old corners and rollers out, got all the rails ready to go. The only thing I'm going to do here is pull out this old bug strip, because I'll just replace that with a new one. It's all ripped and tattered anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to get this thing together. All I'm going to do is just tap these new corners into the long rail and on both sides, and then move up to the top and get the top rail tapped into place with the rubber mallet. No big deal at all. Now all I'm going to do here is just work my way around and tap until I get each of these corners completely closed up and looking nice and tight. There we go, we got everything together, all the corners put together. We're ready to start screening.